like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, hey, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. I mean, first NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, that's so cool to see. And it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccateers in the house. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, hey, nothing happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCann, still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on, and then kind of make us do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccateers, a wide receiver, Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccateers. You're tapped in, and here we go. Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Welcome into the Buccateers podcast. We got a very fun but rapid fire show tonight. We're trying our first ever power hour with the Bucs reporter roundup. Roundup of reporters, going to be 15 to 20 minute rapid fire with all the great reporters in the 813 and content creators in the 813. Today we got a loaded slate. Greg Auman of Fox Sports, JCL and Sports Illustrated, Michael Pless of RealBucsTalk, and Matt Matera of Pewter Report. We're going to go ahead and bring in Greg Auman here shortly, trying to see what we can do right now with Greg. But Zach, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Excited for this show. We got a lot of stuff lined up, a lot of great guests. So I'm excited to get it popping.
J-Lo, quickly thoughts on today's show as we're going to bring Greg in here shortly, brother.
Elite lineup. We got an elite lineup for the show tonight. Whoever's joining in, thank you for watching. Shout out to my brothers Zach and Tone. Let's get it going.
Yeah, we got the great Greg Auman in the house from Fox Sports. Obviously, has done a great job covering the Bucs all along the way. Multiple stops throughout. Now with the great Fox Sports covering the entire NFC South, and we're lucky enough to grab a couple of Greg's minutes here as he's a very busy guy. Greg, how the heck you doing, brother? Welcome into the show. We appreciate it.
Hey, guys, doing well. Thanks for having me on. Hope you guys are doing well, too.
Yeah, thanks again. We're big fans of yours, and it's awesome to have you on here. Always listening to you on the radio, seeing you on Twitter. You're the man to go to for all things Bucks, and now the NFC South as well. So, Greg, I'm not going to waste any time here. I'm just going to get right to it. This team is unlike any other Bucks team in the past couple of years heading into the season before, based on the fact that I'm hearing a lot of Super Bowl talk coming from the locker room and the players and the media. A lot of people are mentioning the word Super Bowl, something you haven't really heard of in Baker's first 2 years here. It was kind of, hey, let's win the division. Let's make the playoffs. But now winning the division is kind of shifting to Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. With how close you cover the team, is that kind of the sense you feel? And is the locker room really in a true Super Bowl or bust sort of mentality?
I don't know if it's Super Bowl or bust, but I think that they do want to do more damage than just win a division title. I think they'd like to make a deep playoff run, if they made it to NFC conference game and lost there, I don't think they're going to feel like they had a bad year or something. So, I think nationally, I think everybody still probably thinks about the Lions, the Eagles as the top teams in the division. Maybe Washington ahead of the Bucs as well, but then they're right there in that next tier. They're right there, probably in better shape to win a division than anybody in the East or anybody in the North, just because they've got some really tough competition there. And here, I think the perception at least is that they're the team to beat again. That probably hasn't been the case the last 2 years. I think they've won, but they haven't necessarily done it as a, heavy favorite or a preseason. Everybody thinks they'll win. So I think that's a little different. They're used to having kind of chip on your shoulder, underdog, nobody believes in us type motivation. And for the most part, the odds makers, the national pundits, I think you'll see some people that are, the Panthers, you see them picked every once in a while. A couple, if Penix clicks in a big way, then Atlanta will be there too. But I think the experience at quarterback gives them a huge advantage over the rest of the division in terms of what people know going into the year.
Yeah, not the most experienced quarterback group outside of Baker Mayfield. Bryce Young leads the way in terms of experience outside of Baker, and even him, barely has one full season of starting under his belt in terms of the entirety of the picture. So I think that's a good point with Baker leading the locker room. Zach, what say you?
Yeah, I agree. I would like to take a second to thank Greg for always being on Twitter doing the Lord's work, addressing those those Bucs fans that are, we got to pick this player up because they were cut, or we got to trade for this player, or quick to correct a spelling on a player's name. So we appreciate that. We appreciate the work that you do out there, Greg.
No problem. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. Sorry if I've been too hard on you at some point.
No, you've always been really cool with me on Twitter, so I appreciate it.
Okay, good.
So I would like to just talk about Jason Light for a second. I'm a big Jason Light proponent. I feel like, that's when we really started to see a culture change in Tampa, is when Jason came in and started to institute some of the things he did and some of the people that he brought in and surrounded himself with. So why do you feel, or why do you think he is constantly slept on when it comes to the accolades of like executive of the year and things of that nature? He's never really in those conversations.
Yeah, I think I don't know if he's at like the very highest tier, like the Howie Roseman type tier, just because Howie's been to 2 Super Bowls recently. But I think he's well respected across the league. I think he's somebody that people recognize as somebody who, you go back to, Super Bowl in 2020, basically helps get, he's responsible for getting Bruce here, and them together are responsible for getting Tom here. And then everything else is dominoes from there. And then you think about drafting, I think it's one thing to have Tom Brady and to have success with Tom Brady, but to see the way they've drafted and how homegrown this team is now. There's crazy numbers in terms of how many of the guys on the 53, of the guys that are starting on both sides of the ball are just draft picks. Aside from, Baker, now you'd say Reddick, Bredesen, I don't know who else jumps out right now. You have rotational guys like Greg Gaines or Anthony Walker, but you're going to have like 42, 43, 44 guys out of 53 that are draft picks, which is crazy. Especially when you think about the success they've had and how hard it is to keep your own best players when you've won 4 division titles in a row. So I think Jason, I think it's helped him to have some great continuity on his staff, to have, up until he lost Spytek this offseason, really the same front office in place for about the last 8 years. in guys like Rob McCartney and Mike Beal and Mike Greenberg, obviously, Jackie Davis in the last couple of years. They've got a really good group, and you don't keep them together. It's one thing if you're successful, but they have to like working there too. So I think that really speaks to the culture that he has, that gets good people into that building and then keeps them there once they have.
J-Lo.
What's up, Greg? Thank you for coming on, brother. Appreciate
Sure.
all your tweets, everything you put up there. I'm always one of the ones reading, like everybody else. I do want to ask you this. Mike complimented the best receiver room he's ever been in his long career, the Buccaneers. Do you feel that Godwin will be ready for week one? Truthfully, I think that's all the question all the Bucs fans are asking. Will he be ready for week one to go in there and play, or at least contribute to help win the football game?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. They've kind of kept everything with Godwin under wraps. It's like we saw him at practice, and he legit just walked out onto the field and walked back. And the only thing you can really take is wow, he doesn't have a limp, which is good to see. But there was no effort to jog. There was no running. And we don't know what he's doing trained behind the scenes. Chris has done this before. If you had to, you don't want to be someone that gets good at rehabbing major injuries. That's not a skill you want to pick up. But he has that, and he's done that. So I think they have a lot of confidence in him to be able to do it. It's still a major injury. So I think what they've done in adding Ibuka now is kind of taking some of the pressure off. He did amazingly well to come back from that ACL in week one and played it from the get-go. Didn't miss anything that next year. He could do that again, but I don't know that Chris was full-blown 100% ready to go Chris Godwin in week one. So again, you get to the point where it's like Chris at 75 or 80% is better than a lot of NFL receivers, but you don't want to have to put any kind of unnecessary risk on him or pressure to get back. So I don't know. I have no expectation of whether he gets back or not. He's fully capable of it, but I don't know where his ankle is. There's a lot of different things that have to mend there. They're going to be really careful with it. They just made another $66 million investment in him. So, and you don't do that to get him week one. You do it to have him as a leader on this team for the next 3 years. At least, the next two are guaranteed. I thought it was neat when Mike said that. Mike said it kind of matter-of-factly, this might be the best receiver room he's ever been a part of. And again, his opinion is the most important opinion on that one. We can sit here and say, no, it's not, but Mike knows what's around him. So I thought it was neat. I mean, you think about, it's not just the Super Bowl team. I mean, that is Mike and Chris and Antonio Brown. But then you think about 21, where you got Julio Jones in the room too. Julio's, probably a Hall of Famer. So to have those four, and then you got obviously guys like Tyler Johnson and Justin Watson, those kind of things. But I think it really speaks well for what they've already seen. J-Mac's only 1 year. He's basically had 2 amazing months as an NFL player, but Ibuka has had a couple of practices. That's all we have to go on. So it speaks really highly for what a great impression those young guys have made on him, that he would sit there and say, well, I could have Antonio Brown and Julio Jones, or I could have Emeka Ibuka and J-Mac, and he'll go with the young guys and say, maybe that's better. And it might be that week one, they're not better, but by the end of the year, when they all have a full view experience, it should be a really good receiver group. I mean, I think they drifted towards 3 wide, a tight end and a running back is their default. It probably will be again this year. But if they want to go 4 wide with those 4, where you got a nickel and a safety covering 2 of those guys, there's going to be guys open. And I think that depth also helps them. They didn't really have a good deep ball last year. They threw for crazy yards, 40 touchdowns, all that, but really did it with a lot of intermediate passing. There wasn't a ton of beating guys over the top. And, for them to have the success they had running the ball when you don't have a lot of deep balls to keep safeties back and keep defenses up off the line of scrimmage was really impressive. And I think if there's one thing I think could be different, Josh Grizzard's going to do well just to match the success of last year. If you're a first-year coordinator and you keep this as a top 5 offense, they've done a really good job. There's no need to worry about where do you take a step forward, where can you get better. I think for him, it just starts with sustaining that success. But he wants to be better. And I think one of the areas I think he thinks they can be better is that deep ball, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're with the great Greg Auman of Fox Sports, formerly of The Athletic and Tampa Bay Times, of course, doing a great job bringing you guys all the best news and insight of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Greg, we have you for a couple more minutes on our debut of the Power Hour with the great Bucs content creators and writers and reporters. I want to ask you this. The Bucs do a great job of landing valuable undrafted free agents, it seems, year in and year out. They always get the most of them. Obviously, the Bucs don't have a ton of open spots on this roster, but you do have a lot of UDFAs who have a decent chance of making the roster. A couple of offensive linemen, including Majors and Chuck Wuma. You got Shiloh Sanders. You got J.J. Roberts. You got Big Watson, and then you got Green at wide receiver, the versatile quarterback wide receiver out of West Virginia. So you got a lot of fun, big names out there. I'm looking at 2 to 3 undrafted free agents to maybe make the active roster. Does that sound right to you?
I think so. And like you said, it's more just a function of there's not that many holes. There's not that many unclaimed spots on the 53 where you can be like, oh, that guy can get it. So, yeah, I would think and a bunch of those other guys that wouldn't make it, I think it'd be strong players in the practice squad where somebody gets hurt week 8 or something. They can call them up. But, yeah, I think it starts with probably the easiest path right now would be probably J.J. Roberts at safety, making it as the 3rd or 4th safety. That would not surprise me at all. They're kind of cross-training him at nickel where he should be able to do that. If he has any kind of show up on special teams as a gunner, as a coverage guy, he's in really good position to do that. Especially, if they carry a 10th or an 11th DB, he'd be in the hunt for that. Jake Majors looks like a guy that should be there. Every time I see them repping a second-team center, it's him. I think the fact that there isn't necessarily another true center on the roster, Ben Scott's a guy that was a center in college. They've repped at guard so far this spring. And then Ben Chukwuma is a really cool story. I think it's a guy that literally hadn't played a game of football 2 years ago and is now on an NFL roster. It's crazy in terms of how raw and how much upside he has. I think, he could easily be their 9th offensive lineman and stay on the 53. Maybe wouldn't necessarily have any expectation of dressing on Sundays first half of the year. But I think he's a guy that can be so much better than he is right now. And they made a big investment. He got $300,000 guaranteed as an undrafted rookie. So those 2 offensive linemen, Roberts, Shiloh to a lesser extent he would really have to outperform Roberts and show something on special teams to beat him out. Shiloh's probably in a good position to be a practice squad guy. Des Watson's in good position to be a practice squad guy. There's a couple others like that. You mentioned Garrett Green, who's like a converted quarterback to receiver, and he's intriguing, but for him to take at a new position at what's easily the deepest position on the roster and stick on the 53 would take, insane 5 touchdown preseason kind of thing. He'll do well if he's just, they'll have probably 3 receivers on the practice squad and they're going to cut really good receivers. They're going to cut receivers this year that will be on other teams' 53. Guys like you think about Cam Johnson and how exciting he was this time last year. I don't know if Rakim Jarrett makes it right now, if Ryan Miller makes it right now. Trey Palmer is in a lock to make it right now. So all those surplus guys are outside kind of the top, definitely outside the top 4, maybe outside the top 5. So I think there's a window where, again, they're going to have talented guys that come back on the practice squad. They actually, they really like this Josh Williams, which, they don't have a lot of depth at running back where he'd be a 4th running back. I don't think they'll carry a 4th running back in the 53, but he could easily be their practice squad running back too.
That's a lot of good depth. Good problem to have, right? If you get in practice squad players picked, and the Bucs are prone to having some wide receivers picked over the past couple of years. So wouldn't be shocked. Olivia comments, "Hey, Greg, you're the man. We love our lady listeners," and she's tuned in. Droman saying, "Afternoon, gentlemen." Zach, take us home with Greg Auman and give Greg the last question here from the Buccateers as we look to keep the good convos rolling, my friend.
All right. Well, I didn't really have a second question prepared, but you mentioned something about Antonio Brown, and it just, you've seen a lot of football. Have you ever seen anything like what Antonio Brown did? I don't know that I ever saw your take on that. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's one of those where I literally didn't see it in real time. Like, it's one of those where your eyes are on the field, on the line of scrimmage, all that, and you see these clips coming up, and it's like, wait, he's gone? And it was, in terms of the more unbelievable things, that was that game where 2 of the guys missed the plane, 2 of the DBs missed the plane and had to fly in on their own and came in late in that game and barely made it for kickoff. And then AB is posting videos from what was it, like getting his Uber out of the stadium and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was, and then all the back and forth afterwards in terms of what was said. And, they had a lot. I think they did really well with AB to win a Super Bowl with him and to get past all the chemistry and extracurriculars that come with AB. And I think it's one of those where they could have probably been done after 1 year, had a Super Bowl with him, and kind of step away from the table. You came out ahead, good job. And again, you want to get Tom Brady happy, you bring him back for another year, and it was like, ooh, okay. And that's what happens. Is what happened in 21. And
we all knew it was going to explode. I don't think any of us expected it mid-game.
Right, exactly. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah, mid-game, shirt off. Yeah, I'm like, it's one of those where it's cool because you were there, but have that, there's not a lot of that. And there's lots of people that end with their teams badly, but not on the sidelines in the middle of the game. To see the video from the fans with like Mike going over, because again, Mike is kind of the antithesis of AB as receivers go, and to see him kind of try and talk him down, like, hey man, we're in the middle of the game, don't do this, don't. And it's like, no, he just throwing off his gloves, throwing off his shirt. AB. It never surprised me. I'm kind of the point where I don't really want to do too much to publicize AB because so much of it's negative. He's got an attempted murder warrant now in South Florida, bankruptcies, everything else. So yeah, fond memories from a distance, but a big headache too sometimes.
Yeah, Greg, before you leave, comment from Brian saying, how's the prodigy kid of Greg? So
sure. My son Riley, just graduated University of Florida, going back for grad school in the fall. Got a degree in data science, going back and get a master's, like a 1-year master's this fall. So he's here home this summer. I talk sports with him constantly. I kind of talked him out of being a writer.
Good call.
but if he wanted to, could do it amazingly well. He remembers stuff that there'll be a guy that the Bucs will bring in for a visit or a workout, and I don't know who he is. And Riley will be like, "Oh yeah, he started out at East Tennessee and then he transferred to Eastern Michigan and ran like a 4.52 at the combine." And he didn't forget much. So yeah, no, Riley's done well. Keeps track. Still follows the Bucs a lot. Loves the Bucs. He's got 3 different Godwin jerseys. Loves Chris Godwin for sure.
Awesome.
But no, thank you. It'll be needed. You guys were.
I'll need a new jersey then.
Right, and now I have to get the junior. I told him we got to go in, and it's like you get Godwin because you're thinking like, oh, they're going to keep him, and you got some longevity, and you're not going to have to be wearing an outdated jersey. And now the junior's got him, so I said we have to just go into the custom place and just get like a little junior thing.
Just do the tape, do the tape like the Browns fans do.
Hey, drop off to Nelson and be like,
hey, center, but
no.
Hey, can you hook this up, Nelson?
Godwin said he wasn't going back to 12 because he didn't want anybody to have to buy a new jersey of his, and then he adds the junior.
Right. Well, and then the other thing is if you change jerseys, you have to buy up the old jersey. Like for Godwin, that's a big check. There's some guys that can change, and it's probably not that much. Yeah, Chris, that'd be expensive. It'd be cool if he went back to 12, just because I don't know if anybody's going to go back to 12 with his team, but yeah.
Yeah, it might be one of those numbers that nobody just touches 12 because of the greatness. And yeah, if you're a Godwin jersey collector, well, you're on jersey number 3 now. So it's worth it for a guy like Godwin. But Greg, thanks so much for your time, my friend. Before you go, any last words, thoughts, comments? Obviously, people know where the heck to find you. So.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's a fun lineup you got there. Look forward to seeing the rest of them. And thank you, guys. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, you're the best, Greg. We appreciate you, my friend. The best in the business, the great Greg Auman of Fox Sports. Thanks again, Greg.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too, my friend. The great Greg Auman. That was awesome. Now we got the Miz yet again. And Brian, great question there, my friend. Sorry. Thanks for reminding me. Someone was acting goofy in the chat, so sadly had to block him and kind of got passed up by Brian's question, but he reveals it again. And that was awesome with Greg's kid. Speaking of kid, we got the kid himself from Sports Illustrated, Bucs Gameday SI. Pirate Parlay podcast, brother of the shows, friend of the shows, and millions tuning in along with him, the great and best in the world, JCL. And JC, long time no talk, brother.
How you guys doing?
Well, I guess better than Shadur Sanders. You got a speeding ticket for going 101 miles an hour right there, brother. So just good stuff. We're chugging along through the offseason. J-Lo, you want to give us your thoughts and tip us off here, brother?
Yes, sir. JC, what it do? Thank you for coming on. You're one of the best to talk to. I enjoy everything you put out there. You work really hard for it. I'll give you all that. Plus a football coach. Salute, brother. It's not easy. But I will say this. After watching OTA, watching all these rookies, vets going out there, which one stood out the most to you between rookie to veteran? Maybe that shows more improvement from year 1 or 2. Like, which one stood out to you the most? Because you were out there, brother, in that heat, doing your work, brother. Talk to us.
It's easy to say the new guys, right? Because everyone's looking at them. Jacob Parrish automatically stands out. Emeka Egbuka automatically stands out. You can tell those two guys are going to be starters in this league and probably starters for the Bucs week 1. Whether Chris Godwin's injured or not, I think Egbuka probably wins that wide receiver 3 position. But McMillan, after a rough day on day 2, really bounced back, or day 1, really bounced back day 2, had a great, really great showing there. And it's just the level of depth. I heard Greg talking about it. Like, they're going to cut some receivers that are going to be on rosters. Like, that's just what it's going to be. They've got a plethora of depth there and put themselves in a great scenario. So wide receivers going to be fun to watch. I'll tell you what, Servassier Dennis, he looks really, really good. And if he can stay healthy, there's a reason why there's so much buzz around him. There's a reason why the Bucs didn't drop the linebacker early. There's a reason why they're saying all the right things, is because this guy is an absolute player. He's got the smarts. He's got the skill set. He's got everything you're looking for to be a true 3-down linebacker. And, he wreaks havoc. Again, I always go back and I ask him this question. It's like, when you came out, no one was talking about you as a guy who could cover. You were a guy who could blitz. You were a blitzing linebacker who had 9 sacks your senior year in college. Last year, everyone was calling for you because they sucked in coverage. Like, how does that make you feel? Like, you came out not known for your coverage. That was the biggest question mark around you. And now everyone's calling on you for your coverage ability. It just speaks to the volumes of how he's progressed over the last few years behind the scenes. I think he's someone that is really going to stand out and really going to separate himself. And people are going to be like, yeah, they're going to need a linebacker next year, but that's because Levante might retire. It's not because they need to overhaul the position. I think they're going to be in good hands with Voss. He's really impressed as well. Jake Majors is another guy taking all the number 2 center reps. I love his cadence when he calls autos, like, hold. It's like, and he says it 3 times. Like, Graham, you guys probably saw the Bucs video. He's a 1 huddle, but he's a 3 huddle guy, and it's a good cadence. So those are guys who stood out.
Yeah, JC, I'm going to take it. Pop's texting into the show. He's got a good question.
Pops?
Yes, as always, loving the JCL and guest appearance. But he asked Hassan Reddick, early thoughts on him. Is he as advertised? I mean, the press conference, the interview, he surely, and I never was concerned, but, the little sliver of the fan base that made the lazy comparison to Randy Gregory was concerned, very lazy comparison as well, but that's for another day. But are you impressed? And early thoughts of Hassan Reddick? He looks motivated. He looks ready to roll.
Man, I posted a picture of OTAs, and it was the front 4 with Yaya, Hassan, Kalijah, and Vita Vea. I said these 4 are going to wreak havoc, and I truly mean that. I think they're going to just be game wreckers. Hassan Reddick is so smart, and to hear him already being that mentor in the room, just being there for 3 days and having guys like Braz and even Yaya come up and, hey, can you watch this rep? When Yaya's not in with him, and other guys. So, hey, can you watch this rep? Tell me what I should do better. Having that already there is going to be super influential to some of these young guys, especially after last year. You had Nelly there and Shaq came back for the end, but like having a guy there the whole year to kind of give them insight, I think is going to be huge just to bring up their level of play. But I think his level of play, he likes that right side. So he's going to be going against the right tackle. And he brings that different dimension. He brings that quickness, that speed, that bend ability, where Yaya's more. He's got good speed and power. He doesn't have the best bend, although he's been doing Pilates in the all off season, and it's showing up. Like his bend is better than it's ever been. But you have those 2 guys coming at you with the 2 guys in the middle. It's going to be very hard to double team any of them because they all bring it. And Yaya's going to face less chips and less, running backs staying in pass protection, because now you have 2 certified dogs on the edge, 2 certified dogs in the middle, and then you've got Levante, Servassier, and a litany of guys who can come at you from that nickel spot to bring pressure, and guys who you can flip around. You want to bring Antoine, fine. Tyke, you go to free safety, whoever is there. Like, you can mix and match these guys around, and it's gonna he's not just gonna help. I think he's going to regain his form. 10 sacks, I think, is light work for him this season. but I think he's going to elevate the defense as a whole. And I think we've been talking about it for a while, guys, that premier pass rusher. He is that premier pass rusher. Overlooked last season. It was the Jets. It was an S show. And they traded for him knowing that he wanted a contract and didn't give him a contract. It wasn't like a Matthew Judon situation where he went to the Falcons knowing that he was playing that deal out. And they kind of screwed the pooch that whole time. So I think last year was an aberration. He's going to get back to that double digit and be the guy who is a ball hawk forcing those strip sacks.
Awesome. So, as you're alluding to here, there's some hype around this Bucs team, and us old heads aren't used to that, right? We're not used to the hype except when the draft's coming. So can you build on that a little bit and compare this 2025 team to the 2020 Super Bowl team?
That's tough as far as the hype, because 2020 was literally Super Bowl or bust. You got Tom Brady in here. You brought in Leonard Fournette. You bring in AB midseason. Like, that was Super Bowl or bust. If you don't win the Super Bowl, it's considered a failure, even though it was an unprecedented time in the NFL, in the world, with the shutdown and COVID and everything. Those are the expectations placed on Tampa. But when you have Tom Brady, being a New Englander, we expect the Super Bowl every year when you have Tom Brady. And anything less than that is an absolute failure. So 2001, 2002 were failures, in my opinion. They did good. They made the playoffs. Failures. You have Tom Brady, you win a Super Bowl. Or you at least make it to the championship game. Because that's what I've been routine to. Like 10 straight AFC championship games. So with the Bucs, it's a little different. They backdoored into the NFC South 2 years ago. Backdoored into the NFC South 2 years ago. And then last year, really still kind of backdoored into the NFC South. Even though they improved their win total one game every time, they could have wrapped it up before the final game of the season, and they just haven't been able to do that over the last 3 years. So for this, there's definitely more hype around this Bucs team. And when you look at the overall landscape at the NFC, there's an argument that they're the third, fourth best team in the NFC right now, behind probably the likes of Detroit and the Eagles, or Detroit, or put in whoever, Washington, whatever you want right there, that whole, conundrum of teams right there. They're right there in the thick of it. Super Bowl is a realistic goal and should be a realistic goal. Representing the NFC in the Super Bowl should be a realistic and attainable goal for the Bucs this year. Winning the Super Bowl should be as well. The Chiefs they've already beat the Chiefs. We've seen what they can do against the Chiefs, and they just showed what you can do if you have dominant interior pressure, guys who can come in waves. Guess what the Bucs just did? Invested in the defensive line, invested in the edge rushers. So now that second unit is Braswell and Walker. That third unit is Nelly and Jose. That second unit on the defensive line is Greg Gaines, Logan Hall, Elijah Rogers, CJ Brewer, friend of the show. Like, that is that's your waves right there. So you set yourself up to be able to do that. So NFC South should be a lock. I've seen the Panthers, and I think the Panthers take a jump this year. I don't think an NFC South jump. There's too many questions about the Falcons. They're putting all their eggs in the Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. bucket to fix that defense with two rookie edge rushers, and I think they'll make an impact. But do I think they're the answer? And we still don't know what Michael Penix is. There's tape on him now. To me, in my show, actually, at 7, once this is wrapped up, jump over to Pirate Parlay. I'll be going through the offense first, and we're going to look at my rankings of the NFC South. And to me, I have the Panthers at number 2 at quarterback. I think Kirk Cousins is all but washed. I think Andy Dalton is probably Kirk Cousins right now. They're very comparable. Maybe Kirk Cousins is a slight nod, but Bryce Young showed me something last year. And I believe in Dave Canales, and I think most Bucs fans do too. I don't know what Michael Penix is. I don't know what Michael Penix is with tape out there. I saw what Bryce Young was. They just got him more weapons than Tet McMillan. I think they can make a jump. But the Bucs should still be the favorites of the NFC South. And to me, they should be someone that people are talking about realistically as a Super Bowl contender and not just a dark horse.
So there you have it. J.C. Allen of Sports Illustrated, Greg Auman of Fox Sports, both with the same thought process there of next level football for the Bucs. The past couple of years seemed like the NFC South was the goal. You win a playoff game, great. Now giddy up, time to get on the saddle, make it to the NFC Championship game, try and go all in for the Super Bowl. We're live right now On the Power Hour, Bucs Reporter Roundup, we had Greg Auman first of Fox Sports, now the great J.C. Allen of Sports Illustrated Pirate Parlay Podcast. Next, the great Michael Pless of Real Bucs Talk. J.C., close it out here with you, my friend. A lot of good stuff from you. What do you got in the works, and any last thoughts on the Bucs, brother?
Yeah, just kind of back to what I was talking about just a second ago. If the Bucs don't reach the NFC Championship game this year, I think the season is a failure. You can talk about that if you agree with me once I get off of here, but I do think that NFC Championship game at least or bust for this team, especially if the offense is going to be clicking the way it was when you add a piece like Ibuka, who would be a wide receiver 2 right away on a lot of teams. And I don't know if he'll ever work his way to a high-end wide receiver 1, but you could see a path for that. So like you've upgraded your offense, which you really didn't need to, but it keeps you from staying stagnant and teams being like, all right, we know what they're going to do with this group of guys. Now they have no idea what you're going to do on any given play, plus the new wrinkles that Grizzard will put in. You've upgraded your defense with that premier pass rusher you've needed for the last couple of years, but you've also upgraded your depth. Anthony Walker, you look at the cornerback room, bringing back Bryce Hall, Kindle Vildor, who we all thought was just like, and you heard from Lions fans like, good luck. But Bull said he's been one of the best players out there so far. And he had some nice pass breakups. Didn't come down with interceptions, but nice pass breakups during minicamp and OTAs too. So, they've upgraded their depth at corner. They've upgraded that depth at linebacker, at defensive line, at edge rusher as well. It should be NFC Championship or bust. You guys can find me right after this show at 7:00. We're on live for about 30 minutes there. We're going to be breaking down the offense. Then we'll be breaking down the defense. That will be aired later in the week of the NFC South. Who has the best position groups over there? Will also be written form over at Bucs Gameday, Sports Illustrated Bucs Gameday here. So we'll be breaking it down, article form, breaking it down here on the podcast. And other than that, man, just pop it in, show my guys some love. I got to pop in with Pless and Real Bucs Talk and, give them the bag. And, obviously always popping in, showing my guys love in here.
Yeah, some great stuff there. I love the crosstalk with Pless. Pless, welcome in, by the way, brother.
What's up, guys?
Christopher Cole, too. He will not be going to the Jaguars, he says, if Palmer gets cut. Panthers, maybe, but Jaguars, there's not a lot of love there for Trey Palmer.
Oh, wow. So, there you have it. He wasn't really
You can just tell by watching last year.
Right. His trajectory was like this, and now he kind of going like that. Last year, not to the extent of Ibuka, obviously, but you had the Palmer-McMillan talk, kind of like you're having the McMillan-Ibuka talk this year of how useful those young guys could be. J.C. Allen, we love you. We'll be watching at 7 Eastern, brother. We'll be wrapped up by then. So thanks again, and don't let the, R-Truth or Ron Killens let little Jimmy loose on you when you get out of here.
Oh, for sure. I'll drop you guys the link if you want to pop on, have some discourse about my position rankings. Plus loves to battle me, so we'll see.
Always a great time with the great JC Allen and millions. JC, you have a great night, brother. We'll be watching you at 7.
Thanks, sir.
Too. Later, guys.
Awesome stuff there from our guy JC Allen. Now more awesome stuff here from our guy Michael Pless of Real Bucs Talk. Before J-Lo jumps in, Pless pops text a question in for you. First off, how the hell you doing, brother? Secondly, what's your thoughts on Josh Grizzard so far? Tough shoes to follow, a lot of pressure on him, says Pops. What say you, Pless?
Well, JC loves to talk, so I thought he was gonna take more of my time, but it's fine. Yeah, Josh Grizzard, I think we're all excited to see, what he can bring to the table. What type of offense or what type of changes he's going to make, as far as adjustments. I think we're going to see more vertical offense, more use of the running backs and tight ends, I think, as well. Sean Tucker probably gets some more snaps. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to be positive about. I think the main thing is the players. You have the players in place. That's going to make it a lot easier to operate. And really, you don't have to get too technical. You have a lot of guys that can win matchups. With Ibuka now on your roster, there's a lot of different things where you can isolate guys and get the matchups that you want to see out there consistently. I think the run game is going to lead the way because you have a very good offensive line, and they're just going to lean behind those guys and see where it takes them.
I agree. J-Lo?
That's what's up, Michael Pless. Thank you for coming
Hey, what's
on.
up, guys?
I always enjoy the Bucs Talk. You and Mark be killing it, man. Crushing it every single time on the play-by-play. I mean, I love every minute of it. But going back to what JC was saying on the whole depth on defense, the DBs, if we have a healthy Antoine Field Jr., a healthy Tyke Smith at safeties, how confident can we get more turnovers if we get the pressure, which I think we will with Hassan Reddick and the other deputies we added there? I feel we're going to have more turnovers than we did last year, or even the last couple of seasons. Let's add that up if they stay healthy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think health is obviously a big factor. I think the way they play, though, is going to be much different than what we've seen in the past as far as playing more press coverage, getting up into guys' faces, and trying to disrupt the offense before they even get started. So that's been a big emphasis. I think they drafted 2 corners in Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish that can play man coverage and play the type of defense that they want to do. So now you have options in your secondary to challenge Zion McCollum, challenge Jamel Dean. That's going to make you better. With Winfield and Tyke Smith, I think you have 2 versatile pieces that can rotate and do a lot of different things. They can still play the nickel if you need to. They can play safety. So there's a lot of options there for them to operate. I think, pass rush and coverage have to work together. That's what, makes the turnovers happen. So if you have a pass rush and you have coverage behind it to operate better, then yeah, you're gonna see some turnovers happen. So it all depends like how you want to play. And I think the aggression factor going up, not giving just the easy completions, because now you have a front 4 that can get after the quarterback more consistently, or at least that's the hope that you get to. So I think defensively, they're going to do some different things to allow them to generate those turnovers.
I agree. Zach, what say you on those turnovers? And JT Olson, Icewater Olson joining the chat saying just getting Dennis and Antoine Winfield back will help with turnovers, kind of helping the point there as well, because the middle of the field won't be wide open. We hope we get JT maybe in our next roundtable. This is the Power Hour roundtable with Bucs reporters and content creators in the hour. Zach, take over, brother.
Yeah, so every Bucs fan knows that Real Bucs Talk is the place to go to get film breakdown. So what advice would you give to somebody, Pless, that is looking to get into being better at film breakdown? Like, what resources could they utilize to understand and recognize schemes and play calling and all the things that it's necessary to, to really get something out of the film watching?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first place you start, like if you can get a hold of like an NFL Plus account, set that up and log into like the NFL Pro website. That's a very useful tool now where they have analytics to back up, and they have a lot of data, a lot of stats where you can just click on a number and it brings up a set of plays to watch. But the first thing is like what I tell people, don't watch the ball, watch something else besides the football. So you try to isolate your vision on one thing that you're looking for. And sometimes your eyes go somewhere else where something pops off the tape and you're like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention to that, but I want to watch more of it, stuff like that. So usually I tell people, focus on a certain position. Like, what's the position that you like to watch? A lot of people will say, oh, I like to watch the quarterback, and that's a great place to begin. But there's so much that goes, as I lose my mic here. There's a lot that goes into it. So I think, just realizing, what the offensive line is being asked to do. What is your receivers, your running backs? All those factors go into it. So I would say start at a simple position, whether it's offensive line or defensive line, and kind of work your way out. Start from the center of the ball and then work your way out to the outside the numbers kind of thing. And really just create your own process. I don't have any special sauce. I kind of just go by what I want to see. Like if I want to watch corners, then I'll focus on corners and, kind of detail, those aspects. And, take notes if you can. Note taking is very big. Try to be good with your details. So yeah, that's where I would start if you're a beginner to watch tape.
That's great stuff there with Michael Pless of Real Bucs Talk. We're live now on our first ever edition of the Power Hour, our roundtable of Bucs reporters, or Bucs reporter roundup. We had Greg Auman of Fox Sports, JC Allen of Sports Illustrated, Bucs Gameday. Now, Michael Pless of Real Bucs Talk. We're going to close it out eventually with the great Matt Matera of Pewter Report as well. We hope this is the first of many of these. Plus won't be a stranger on these, I assure you that. We'll put him after somebody other than JC Allen next time, so we could get himself some more time. But Plus, for those unfamiliar, you obviously go beyond Bucs film. You do a great job covering the draft as well. One of your last film studies, I remember, maybe your last even, was Shamar Stewart. Now of the Bengals, maybe, kind of. But you kind of alluded to him being a red flag without even seeing this coming. Was it just the on-the-field stuff to you, or did you have a hunch that, as Jason Light alluded to plenty of times this offseason, the Bucs have a type, the Bucs have a type, the Bucs have a type, and Shamar Stewart just didn't fit that type? I mean, I wasn't impressed with him in college, and certainly I'm not impressed with him right now. Right, wrong, or indifferent of what the Bengals are doing.
Yeah, so with Stewart, he's a very young player, and I think there were some immaturity issues there. He definitely struggled to be in right position, and that's usually, if you want to go back to the tape, like, what do I look for? I try to find things that they're just doing their job. Okay, if you're the edge, make sure you're setting the edge to take away the outside run, not trying to make a me play. You're playing within the team structure. I understand if you're like trying to create some disruption, that's great if you're setting someone else up. But if you're just being a selfish player, and I think that's what I saw a lot on his tape, he was trying to go after the numbers instead of trying to help his team. Now, there was some moments where he was helping his team, but it was just very up and down. So that's where you start off. Like, if you're up and down on the tape, that can create issues. So really, Shamar Stewart was just a red flag. I didn't have him on my board for the Buccaneers. I didn't think they were going to take him. Just too inconsistent, and someone that, would be fine in the third round, but, first round, no thanks. And I'm glad he was taken ahead of the Buccaneers.
Yeah, leave it up to the Bengals to draft a player like that. Just seems right up Cincinnati's alley, and they're treating him like they typically do. It's a two-way street, and takes two to tango, and neither of those parties want to seemingly tango. Before we bring in former 24/7 champ Matt Matera of Pewter Report into the ring here, we're going to end it with Michael Pless. Plus, give us your last thoughts on the Bucs offseason so far, and where can the people keep up with your great work, brother?
Yeah, I appreciate all of you guys having me on. It's a team where we're in a really good position. I think you have to be excited about, what's to come. Matt has said that as well on Pewter Report. I mean, it's a team that's in a very good spot. So I'm really excited. I can't wait. Hopefully we stay healthy and we have a good chance to be right there in the NFC when the season ends. So looking forward to it. You can catch my work on YouTube at RealBucsTalk. Follow me on Twitter, same handle at RealBucsTalk. And we also open up a Telegram. So if you want to join our Telegram channel and just, chat on an everyday basis, you're more than welcome to join. We'll put that on our Twitter page probably later today and have it pinned up there. So, yeah, this has been awesome, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I can't keep score anymore. You got Threads, Blue Sky, Telegraph, whatever the hell's going on. But no, we'll make sure to link your Telegram. But it's hard to keep up at home. But plus, you're the man, brother. You have the best film breakdown of the game. We appreciate it, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
All right, sounds good, guys. Yep, take care.
Have a great night to Michael Pless of Real Bucs Talk. From one great to another great, Matt Matera of Pewter Report. Matt, big fan of yours, brother. Thanks for the time jumping on the show, my friend.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you all for having me on. It's an honor to be the main event of the evening and the showstopper of this show. So appreciate all of you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a little bit better than the main event from the last PLE we had, which is hard to top, right? But it will be better than that. So there we go. J-Lo, if you want to jump in and tag in, brother.
Absolutely. Matt, big fan of yours on Pewter Report. You, SR, the rest of the staff, Bailey,
Thank you.
Sly, y'all be crushing it. Appreciate you coming on. Good man. I will want to ask you is the schedule coming up, for the Bucs. I feel, to me, after the Philly game, which is tough, I feel between going to Seattle, coming home against San Francisco, and then I believe they go Monday night against Detroit. New Orleans, they always give us fits every time we play them. To me, I feel like if we got to a good start, do you feel that the Bucs will have over 500 record going to the bye week compared to the last 2 seasons we've been going into? Talk to me.
Yeah, I think they got a good opportunity to. I actually kind of feel like the schedule this year is similar to what it was last year, where they run into a little bit of a gauntlet going into that bye. But if they could stay afloat and have an above 500 record going into that bye, the rest of the schedule kind of plays well into the favor of the Buccaneers. Now, there are a couple of teams as well that are, I think on paper, you expect the Bucs to be the better team, but there's some question marks as well. Like, I look at the Arizona Cardinals. They're going into year 2 with their head coach, Marvin Harrison, year 2, a wide receiver. Kyler Murray can be so up and down. He's either a Pro Bowl player, or just like injured or what the heck's going on. So the Cardinals are one of those teams where, like, right now in the middle of June, it's like, yeah, the Bucs should beat them by like 15 points, double digits, whatever the case may be. But they might be a little bit tougher than I think people recognize, but we'll see how the season goes. That last month, though, I mean, I've been saying for a little while now, I think the Bucs, the next step in their progression of, the outside media taking them seriously is not just win the division, because they've been doing that, but win the division with another game or 2 left to go on the schedule. Because it's come down to, hey, they got to win the last week of the season or else they're screwed. Win it on Thursday Night Football against the Falcons, or, a week later where you don't have to go into week 18 being like, oh, I hope they win and get in. No, prove that you are the top dog in the NFC South and win with a couple of games to go. And I think they can do so.
Yeah, and can we get Mike Evans at 1,000 yards before the last play of the game?
Yeah, right.
So that we all don't die of a heart attack on a Sunday. But I want to take a second real quick to say that, I met Matt on the crew, the Bucs cruise, and got a chance to chop it up with him a little bit and give him a thank you for folks like Tones and I. These outlets were the only places for us to get Bucs news, because I live in Steelers country and everything up here is, Pittsburgh. So without those types of outlets, I would never get the news that I need. So you guys doing the Lord's work, and we appreciate it. Also, if you're not following these 4 gentlemen that we just had on the show, are you even Bucs fans? Right. So I want to ask you about the experiences that you've had covering the team. Right. You guys live the dream that most of us, and have access to the players that most of us would die for. So can you talk about what your most memorable moment is covering the team? And don't give us the canned Super Bowl coverage. We all know that's like the big one, but for you, what was the most memorable thing covering the team?
I mean, the 2021 season was special for me because it was, again, everything was so different with like the different rules and restrictions with COVID. But 2021, I went to every single game that year covering the Bucs for Pewter Report, except for the Eagles playoff game, because I got COVID right before that. And I was like, oh my God, like, did I just get the whole Bucs team sick? Because you would go and get your nose swab beforehand. And then I got a call from the Bucs PR staff and like, hey, Matt, like, you have COVID, please go home. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I just screwed over the whole team. Everyone's going to be out, but they were fine, thankfully. But being able to cover that team, and I get it, the 2020 team, it was awesome. They won the Super Bowl and everything like that. And that's the ultimate prize. But that 2021 team was better. Like, they just full throttle, score after score after score, the most wins in franchise history. So getting to see that team, and I know they didn't win against the Rams, but that comeback against them was a lot of fun. And then just some of the relationships you forge along the way. Tristan Wirfs is the absolute man. We just had an event not too long ago with Bucs assistant GM Mike Greenberg and Zion McCollum came out. Got to interact with some YouTube channel members, some platinum members on our YouTube channel. But forging some of those relationships behind the scenes, seeing everybody celebrate that Super Bowl as well, have been some of the coolest moments. And just interacting with the players on more of a personal level, understanding what they're like. Antoine Winfield Jr. trying to build out a YouTube channel and being like, oh, I've been there, man. Like, you got to do this and this with the algorithm. That's been some of the coolest things. It's, you grow up and you want to work in sports and you want to be the person on ESPN or the play-by-play. And sometimes you got to remember, like, you're living out a childhood dream. So I think just the ins and outs of every day, trying to build relationships, and that 2021 team was just unreal. So I would probably say that.
Yeah, that was an exciting time, and it's still an exciting time as we're live with the great Matt Matera of Pewter Report, bringing it home here on the Power Hour, our roundup of Bucs reporters. It's been a fun time so far, first time ever. Matt, we got a text into the show from a listener saying, we've had expectations, we've had excitement this offseason, obviously schedule release, rookies, UDFAs, always an exciting time to be a football fan. And then, you kind of get teased a little bit with the voluntary camps and, then mandatory camp comes along. But you draw a certain expectation of the team in your head, right? And now that you're covering the team, the season's almost here. What's one thing that you've seen so far that's maybe surprised you or that's excited you that you really weren't expecting to be had in the 2025 preseason?
I mean, honestly, I've done a complete 180 with the inside linebacker room. Like, going into minicamp, I was going to say that's probably the weakest part of maybe the team, let alone the defense. And then just being out there, seeing Servase Dennis once again take the ball away. And this is all with Levante David not participating. Seeing Servase Dennis take the ball away, seeing Deion Jones leap up into the air, bobble the ball, hold on to it, and land flat on his back and get up and be fine, I thought was big. And then the energy that Anthony Walker Jr. has brought, who, by the way, is roommates with Levante David now. He's staying at Levante's place, at least in Tampa. Seeing him interact with everybody, he's dancing on the sidelines and everything. It kind of looked like Sierra Miedo, the way he was like crouching and moving the legs and everything like that. But seeing the linebacker room be so cohesive, they were great in the red zone area as well, just stifling the Bucs offense, not allowing them to really get into the end zone that much. I went from saying that the inside linebacker room was maybe the weakest outside of Levante David to now being one of the strongest groups. And even Todd Bowles said that he felt that they are the deepest at inside linebacker. So I'm now very intrigued to see what they'll do at the start of the regular season because they are aging a little bit, but hey, you just need to put it together for this season and see where it goes.
Matt, I will tune in here when you talk about all these players, especially the linebacker core being stronger than it is. I want to throw out there my biggest dark horse this season is Cade Otton. No one's talking about him. Everybody's talking about Mike getting his 1,000 yards, which we all want to see, which I think we will. Of course, Bucky Irving doing his thing. Baker taking that next step to the third-year continuity with this offense. Grizzard being just a great offensive coordinator I think he's going to be. But Cade Otton, I feel, on contract year, he's my biggest dark horse. What would be your biggest dark horse going to this season? Out of any of the players on the offensive line, D-line, wherever you choose, what would be your biggest dark horse, Matt?
I'm glad you mentioned Cade Otton because we did a podcast recently, and I was like, I'm buying a lot of stock in Cade Otton because he's just so clutch. He's not going to be the number one guy with Mike and Chris and Emeka Egbuka and Jalen McMillan, but the dude's been clutch in his career with Tampa Bay. But to answer your question, another guy I've spoken about a little bit, and this is more than just this upcoming season, it's Sean Tucker. Because as we know, this might be Rachaad White's last season in Tampa Bay. We can't guarantee it, but the way that Bucky Irving's going to be the guy, you're still going to have Sean Tucker for a couple of more seasons. And we got to remember, Josh Grizzard, before he was doing his thing with the Bucs, was over in Miami. And when you think Miami, you think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and all that stuff, but they also had quite the rotation at running back. So I'm very curious with Josh Grizzard as the new offensive coordinator, what's that rotation going to be like with the running backs here? Because we've seen it be the Bucky show. We've seen how important Rachaad White is in the passing game. But when Sean Tucker gets more reps, we all witnessed what he did winning NFC Offensive Player of the Week against the Saints. He's been more of the home run hitter than Bucky Irving. Bucky gets the big runs, but then he gets tackled at like the 2-yard line or whatever the case may be. Sean Tucker is the one that brings it home. So what Sean Tucker has to figure out is, can he play on third downs? Because Rachaad White is still the top guy there, and really, it's not even close. So can Sean Tucker prove that he can pass block, that he can be more of a route runner as a running back, but like as a receiver? Because the dude has the strength, he's got the speed, and he can take it all the way, sometimes even more than Bucky Irving can. And Bucky's still going to be the top guy. There's no doubt about it. But if Sean Tucker can prove that, he can earn more playing time and get the trust of the coaches, he might be your RB2 for at least the next 2 seasons following this one. And that's a great 1-2 punch in the backfield.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
So this might be the most important question you're asked all week. All right. For 50th season, the Bucs got the chance to do the most epic thing ever. What have you heard about the white creamsicle? Is it coming back? Are we getting that game against Seattle?
I hope that's the case. To be honest with you, they have been so mum is the word when it comes to the plans for the 50th year outside of like Simeon Rice and everything with that, and the documentary that's coming out that Scott Reynolds is going to be in, Rick Stroud, a couple of other Tampa media, but they've been pretty quiet about what they're going to do with the jersey situation. I'm advocating for the creamsicle pants with the white jersey, get that road game. And it makes perfect sense to do it against the Seahawks, where it's both their 50th year. They came in at the same time. So I think that would be super important. By the way, I when you asked me before about like other great memories, I had one pop into my head, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Early on at Pewter Report, Mike Evans had a charity golf event, and I think I was still an intern at the time at Pewter Report, but we'd sponsored a hole, so we got to go. It was myself, Taylor Jenkins at the time, our photographer Cliff, Mark Cook, the late great Mark Cook, RIP, was there as well. But Mark doesn't like golfing, so he brought his fishing rod and would go to like certain holes and just start casting and everything like that. But it was a scramble at this golf tournament, so not everyone starts on the first hole and you go the whole way. We actually started on 18, and there was another foursome ahead of us, and so we did the 18th hole, and then you start at 1. The group ahead of us, I guess, got lost going to the first tee or whatever. So we're just like, all right, well, we're not going to wait for them. We're going to go. So the group in front of us for the rest of the golf outing was Jameis Winston and a couple of other people. So it was so funny seeing Jameis tee off on every single hole. I don't know if his game has improved because this was years ago, but he was not a good golfer. Not that, he needs to focus on that because he was playing quarterback. But to see Jameis tee off on like every single hole was a lot of fun. Seeing Mike at his event and all the money that he was able to raise for people and getting to chill with Mike for a little bit in a non-football setting was very cool. But yeah, I remember Jameis just teeing off and there's cameras and everything around him, and it went like 2 feet. He ended up hitting it like a couple of times. But man, what a run it's been covering Bucs quarterbacks, going from Jameis and then Tom Brady and now Baker Mayfield. And I love when Tristan Wirfs, anytime you ask him about Baker, he goes, "Baker's a dog. He's a dog." And I love that. So yeah, it's awesome covering the quarterbacks that have made their way to Tampa Bay over the last, decade, really.
So you're telling us that Jameis got intercepted between the 18th and the first hole? Is that what happened?
Someone got intercepted trying to go to Jameis. Jameis was starting at 1. He was in, just like his draft pick, he was in the right spot. He was starting at 1. But the group in front, I guess, I don't know, everything paved the way for us to be with Jameis. But we didn't get to see Tom golf. And I also didn't know Baker, like, he throws righty, but he golfs lefty. I thought that was very interesting as well.
Hey, multi-sport athlete Baker. Maybe one day you'll see him in the Players Championship. Maybe the Arians Family Foundation golf outing at the Valspar. Maybe you'll see Baker around town. But we're with Matt Matera of Pewter Report live for another couple minutes. Matt, I got to ask you before we let you go a very important question. The best Bucs player to become a wrestler now that Gronk's off the team. Gronk was a good wrestler, former 24/7 champ.
That's right. Just
like yourself. So which Bucs player right now would you say, is it Vita Vea or is it somebody else? Who would make the best wrestler?
I honestly think it would be Tristan Wirfs, because Tristan Wirfs does have a wrestling background. And you got to think, like, if he's going up against someone, he's going to be able to take you to the ground. I think Tristan Wirfs can give you a little bit of like vintage Kurt Angle, but also have the athleticism to give like a Samoan splash off the top rope or something like that. We all saw the video of him, jumping out of the pool and everything like that. So the size, the speed, the versatility. I mean, I think Tristan Wirfs could have ended the Undertaker's undefeated streak before Brock Lesnar did. Tristan Wirfs is certainly a main eventer. He could be in Seth Rollins' group as well. Put him right next to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. You know, there's several roles that Tristan Wirfs can be. He can be a main eventer. He can be your bodyguard. I'm taking him if we're talking about stars.
Love it. Love it. J-Lo, finish up.
I was gonna say, Matt. Sorry about your Mets. You know, getting swept at home for the first time in franchise history by the Rays.
Yeah.
But now that mini camp's over, I'm pretty sure you get a little break from football a little bit. What are your plans? Any plans at all? Do you have any family time? Any outings you got planned before the start of the training camp season?
Yeah, appreciate it. First of all, the last time the Mets got swept by the Rays, the Mets went to the NLCS. So if they have that type of success, maybe they'll go to the World Series.
Okay.
Travel plans. I am going to Maine for the first time for 4th of July weekend. My girlfriend's family's getting a house over there, so they're going to probably do some kayaking, maybe a little golf, get some Maine lobster going on. Got a friend's wedding too, stuff like that. But hey, a little travel here and there, but, you know, still focusing on football, still enjoying friends and family and all of that good stuff. How about you guys? You doing any traveling?
Possibly going to Chicago to hang out with my boys Tones for the first week of the football season.
Hell yeah.
Pretty much being a dad, 2 daughters, you know, we all have to work, unfortunately. But it'll be all well worth it, man. Looking forward to it, man. Thank you again for coming on. You're the man, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's awesome talking to you guys. A lot of fun.
Yeah, just a lot of summer shenanigans here. I got 2 bachelor parties in August. That'll
nice.
be
Anywhere good?
Miami. That'll be expensive, I'm sure. I'll burn up you know, and then Newton, Wisconsin, little place in Wisconsin, not very popular. But, you know, a couple things there as I'm also playing in Bucs games. Got a couple on the docket in the fall and you know, planning wedding. Everything's crazy right now. My fiance's friend is a wedding on the 4th of July. I'm like, damn it, what a day to have one.
Wow.
You know, now I don't get to do fireworks and stuff, but that's all right. You know, weddings happen once in a lifetime. But Matt, it's been incredible chatting with you. Zach, any last words from you, brother?
I appreciate you coming on, Matt. And thanks for always interacting with us on Twitter, man. We appreciate that more than you know.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you guys so much for the kind words. It's a pleasure to be on the show, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, the great Matt Matera of Pewter Report. You probably don't know yet, but I remember one time, Matt, you did have Friday regular segments on WDAE. Do you know if you're going to be a regular on WDAE this season?
I don't know yet, but that's always been a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to hopefully reconnecting and doing that once again. But yeah, that's always been great. It's always in season as well.
Whether it's there or on Pewter Report, we know where to find you. We know where to listen to you. The best in the world, not CM Punk, but Matt Matera, the great Matt Matera. Thanks again, Matt. You have a great night.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, you as well. Have a good one.
Thanks again, brother. The great Matt Matera of Pewter Report. That was a lot of fun, fellas. Rapid fire. Greg Auman of Fox Sports, JC Allen of Sports Illustrated. By the way, once we wrap up here, go to JC Allen's Pirate Parlay podcast and join him there. But Greg Auman, Fox Sports, JC Allen of Sports Illustrated, Michael Pless of Real Bucs Talk, and then the great Matt Matera of Pewter Report. That was a lot of fun, Zach, and we hope to do this again. We have a lot of interest and a lot of guys lined up in the queue to make this kind of a monthly thing, a semi-regular thing, but this ain't going to be the last of the Power Hour Bucs Reporter Roundup, Mr. Zach. What say you?
Man, it was awesome. I'm exhausted. That doesn't even feel like it was an hour, but man, it was so fast, and it was hard to absorb what you were hearing to go to the next question. But it was great. I think it was a great show, and looking forward to who we get next time.
Yeah, Zach, great idea. You and me just kind of thought of this on the fly, and we kind of collabed it, and it worked out well, and here we are. I think that's the cool thing. It's awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome having people on the full show, but when you get a lot of voices in a little time, I feel like the show feels like it's 5 minutes long, and you're excited to ask questions, and the guests give great answers as well. Greg, JC, Michael, and Matt did. So Zach, I agree with you. 1 hour and 5 minutes felt like 5 minutes, but we're going to do this again. Zach, great idea once again, brother. J-Lo, any last words, thoughts from you? That was a lot of fun, brother.
In the words of Captain America, I can do this all day. That was fantastic. That was awesome. Gathering all the great minds that we had on here. And we're just getting started, man. This is just awesome, Zach. You've been so great being on with us, man. We're just gonna keep growing, man. I enjoyed it. I mean, I gotta say, Tones, I gotta admit that Matt Matera coming on kind of got me a little pumped, you know, because it's my first time talking to him besides Greg Auman. But for the most part,
it's like conversation on your worst first date, right? The heart's pumping a little bit. You don't know.
It's like being a nerd in high school, going to talk to that one hot girl, you one crush, you're so scared.
Okay, now we're getting a little borderline. Now we're getting a little.
That's the clip right there. J-Lo just said Matt Matera was the hot girl.
This is getting a little. Before we're not allowed to have future guests back on, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. But guys and gals, join us. We're going to take the weekend off. We deserve a weekend off. We've been busting our tail. We've been live 2 or 3 times a week for the past 6-7 weeks, bringing you off-season coverage. So we'll be back next week. Definitely Wednesday, maybe Monday night as well, but definitely 1 week from tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern, we'll be live. We might try and do this format again. We might be in more natural format, but next Wednesday, catch us around 6 p.m. Eastern live. We'll be right back here, same time, same place, same group of guys. And maybe Monday. Not sure yet. Monday's my birthday. So, you know, if I'm okay, if I'm movable, if I'm walkable, we'll be here Monday. But if I'm a little tired, walking a little crooked, we won't. But fellas, any last words before we fire the damn cannons and get out of here?
I will say this, Tones. Happy early, dirty 30 birthday. I already know your age, bro. Like I said, dirty 30. I hope you celebrated great this weekend. Well deserved. And just enjoy every minute of it, man. If you can't make it Monday, it's okay. We understand, you know. When you partied out, you partied out. If not, we'll run it. We'll keep it going. Celebrate it big, man.
Yeah, I think I still have 1 vacation day left for the podcast for the year. So if I need to use it, I'll use it. I'll follow up with Zach and yourself. But no, honestly, it's been incredible. And the Buccateers, we have a lot of stuff in the works, including maybe 6 shows a week come the regular season. You heard that right. Maybe 6 shows a week. It's going to be incredible. Like Brian saying, great show, guys. Thanks for the great comments, Brian. You killed it. Bat W, Mr. Magic, Olivia, everybody else who comments, Christopher Cole, Dude's a Monster, our guy Nanad from Serbia. Can't get to everybody, Dro Man, and everybody else who made tonight into what it was. We appreciate it, and we'll be back next Wednesday, maybe Monday, but definitely next Wednesday, 6 o'clock Eastern on the Buccateers. First ever Power Hour Roundtable Roundup of Bucs reporters, a great success. On behalf of Zach, Bucs by 30, J-Lo, Greg Auman, JC Allen, Michael Pless, and the former 24/7 champ Matt Matera. Pops is going to end the show with the text in saying, what a show. This guy's OG2, great group of guys. Really nice of them to come on the show. And Trisha, great show, guys. Have a great week and go Bucs. And if you're watching as we exit, hit the like button on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And turn that notification bell on. You'll never miss a show. And we have great announcements to come for YouTube as well. So good night, everybody. Take care. Be safe out there, wherever the hell you're at. We'll see you guys next time on the Buccateers. Zach, J-Lo, Tampa Tones out of the building. Thanks, and fire the damn cannon. Peace.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Bro, we'll put it like that. What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, say it ain't so, Coe. Say it ain't so. Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game. But it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, this is so cool. That was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball here. First NFL touchdown means a lot, right? As a dad, this is so cool to see. still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccateers in the house tonight. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Gonna put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, nothing's happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCann, I'm still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on, and then kind of make us do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccateers at wide receiver, Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccateers. You're tapped in here.